Hey there, and welcome to Hell. So, a bit of personal history before we get into this so you kind of know where I'm coming from. I have something of a long history with the Doom franchise. It was among the first games I had the privilege of playing at an unsuitably young age of 4 years, and the game kept popping up throughout my childhood, but as I was growing up, Doom raised its head once again in 2004 in the form of Doom 3. While these earlier games are great and I have much to say about them, today we're all about Doom, the new one, the 2016 one. So, let's get on with it. I hope you enjoy.
None could stand before the Horde but the Doom Slayer. Despair spread before him like a plague, striking fear into the Shadow Dwellers, driving them to deeper and darker pits.
Even my script acknowledges that it's really hard to follow up to a show like that. But how's the game hold up in the eyes of someone who practically grew up alongside the series? Well, it feels like a return to old form. That's what it is. It's spruced up with modern day features like a storyline that actually didn't get crammed into a manual just to save disk space. The horror-oriented design of the third game is gone, but it's pretty much what I vaguely envisioned a modernized original Doom to look and feel like, except I think it's a little bit better. Now, if you know me, I try not to throw around hyperbole slightly, but this game kills. You're destroying idiots within the first 2 minutes of gameplay, and it really never slows down from that. The necessary storyline progresses smoothly while you work your way through levels that flat out reek of 1993 with the additional vertical layers and jumping controls thrown in the mix. The stages lead into open arenas full of pickups and ammo that then connects to the next one. And now it's a modern FPS with old values, and it might sound like something tricky to pull through, but it works really quite well. To explain a little more about this marriage of new gameplay features and old-timey values, there is no regenerating health, but you can scrap up some HP if you're in a bad spot by glory killing, aka canned animation melee killing an enemy. And even this feature might sound like something that gets old quite soon, but not really, since it ends up being a function you have to use a lot, not only to heal up but to save ammunition in the case of bigger enemies, to gain iframes, and with the correct setup of runes, which are also a feature, you'll be zipping through fights like a tornado of death, spitting bullets at a lot of things until they glow blue and orange, indicating it's time to rip and tear once again. And the occasional ammunition issue is solved with the chainsaw, which basically causes enemies to become an ordnance pinata when you slice shit in half. Alongside that, you have access to a pistol with infinite ammo, a basic melee attack, and interestingly enough, a varied grenade that's on a cooldown rather than on supply. These are all features that feel right at home in a modern FPS, but still do not deduct from the pacing of the game, which is very much old school. The guns are of course an important part of an FPS game along with the enemies to shoot them at, and they're done really well here. The weaponry is quite varied and they all pack a punch in their own field, and by the time the guns get boring, you'll unlock some alternate firing modes. Like, instead of aiming down the sights, you get the occasional aiming down the sights, but mostly it's just upgradable firing modes like scopes, mini stinger rockets for the machine gun, alternate barrels, turret setups for the minigun and the Gauss cannon, and so on. And I gotta say, throughout the course of the single-player campaign, the weapons did not get boring to use, not a single one of them, except for maybe the pistol, cause, well, you know. And to touch a little more on the gameplay side of things, since it is a modern FPS game trying to be different in the oversaturated market. So it is a game that basically takes the Dwango, Quake, the Unreal, Doom values and brings them back to the millennial years. You romp through levels, killing everything that moves while making your way towards the exit, and that's just about it. The levels aren't all that simple, and you have the UAC setup, you have the outside Mars, you have the hellscapes and desiccated hellscapes to help spice things up. The maps are nice and they're really a pleasure to play through. You've got your keycard collecting and stuff, and there's also the occasional jumping puzzle, and nothing really overstays its welcome. During this quiet time you often have some of the non-player characters crucial to the plot telling you what to do and how to do it. The pacing is great in this sense, really. I only wish there were more enemies between the arena-like rooms. Basically, as it stands, you run through corridors populated with a scarce few enemies while making your way to another big room where a big fight takes place, then another corridor, during which an NPC will talk to you about the current state of things that your character clearly does not care about. Perhaps it is because I've played so much of the original Doom, but the stages here aren't too memorable to me. They're nice enough to play through while I go through the game, but nothing really sticks to my mind. It does, however, keep you captivated with a sort of a curve of unlockables. You can find and crush power balls to increase your health, armor or ammunition caps. You can steal micro SD cards from dead guards to tally up points for upgrades for your suit, such as explosion resistance, map upgrades or even climbing speed increases. And last but not least, you bullied the poor robot to get your alternate firing modes. In this day and age, this should be unacceptable. The poor little thing is just trying its best to help. Besides these almost mandatory upgrades, you have a more abstract upgrade system for your weapons, where you can use points earned from combat and challenges listed on the map to buy upgrades to these firing modes, which then culminate in a final challenge once you buy all the 3 upgrades. And the challenge will have you utilize the weapon's fire mode against a single type of enemy or in some creative way, which when completed will give a tremendous boost to the firing mode. For example, my favorite weapon fire mode was the assault rifle with the micro missiles. The challenge for that one, if I recall correctly, was to stick 5 of them in a handful of enemies during a short time window, and once I completed it, the mode upgraded in a way so I'd never have to reload the missiles, effectively allowing me to use them as a primary fire mode. These upgrades and challenges were really nice to complete, and I felt like they added a whole lot of almost uninvited depth to the game. I wasn't expecting them to be there, but once I found out about them and did a few, I was really glad of the addition. Now, beside these unlockables, there's some more obtuse ones, like the possibility to unlock classic levels from Dooms 1 and 2 to play through in the modern engine, which is nifty and a little bit of a chuckle, of course. And some more secrets are found in the way of Doom action figures, which unlock models for you to use, so if you really want, you can wank all over those minigun models. Now that the necessary objectivities are out of the way, it's time for my favorite part. It's incredible to look and listen to. It's like Fear Factory skull-fucked Satan. The audiovisual delivery of the game honestly for me takes the cake. The blood decals end up everywhere as you blast your way through everything ever, while this industrial metal masterpiece a la dem manufacture won't stop assaulting your eardrums. The glory kills have this sort of sink in with the music, and some of the enemy screeches are definitely boosted in decibels, and it's really quite exhausting sometimes, like no blaming if you have to put the game down after an hour or 2. It's ultra violent, it's loud, and it gives me a bit of a war boner. It's visceral through and through, and it feels amazing and rigid to play, which is what you want in a fast-paced FPS like this. Responsiveness and impact. So all said and done, it doesn't really innovate a lot. I mean, it doesn't have to. The emphasis on melee kills and the audiovisual delivery that really nails down the abstract, soul-crushing horror of violence might be the game's strongest suit, but at the end of the day, it's yet another modern-day old-school FPS, and to draw a comparison, I find the Crow Team's Serious Sam franchise has kept this similar train rolling for years now. So does Doom have any staying power then? I'd say yes. I cleared the game after roughly 9 hours of play, and it's certainly doing something right since I've gone back for secret hunting, the occasional multiplayer mode, and so on. Ooh, I just had to go and mention the multiplayer, didn't I? Well, it's outsourced to Certain Affinity, who was responsible for Halo the Master Chief Collection farce, so I don't know. I guess only time will tell. But yeah, about the multiplayer, it's only fair that I bring it up due to the amount of effort that's clearly gone into it. There's a fair amount of customization for your silly little space marine, which you don't really end up seeing other than in the death cycle as you get your head hammered in by melee attacks or torn apart by a Baron. Oh, Barons in multiplayer. Yeah, the game modes, they're fairly run-of-the-mill, save for a few which are definite keepers. There's the Triumphant Return of Freeze tag. There's Soul Harvest, which is a mix of deathmatch and objective-based fighting, as both teams scrounge for souls between huge battles. And another one I'd like to mention is Warpath, which is basically a mobile King of the Hill, where the map's design plays a big part. And then, of course, there's Team Deathmatch, Control Points, and Clan Arena. Now, some of these modes incorporate something called a Demon Rune, which when picked up turns you into a demon of your choice that you can choose at the beginning of your match alongside your layout. There's Revenant, a more powerful variant of an Imp, a Baron, and a Mancubus with which to rip and tear and to be torn by. Honestly, my main gripe with the multiplayer mode is the floating netcode which I'm experiencing, along with the occasional lag spike. It might be a problem on my end, or something that I hope will ease up in time. And then there's the weapon setups. You get to choose several layouts of weapons where you just pick 2 guns, a grenade to go with them, and that's really it. You don't pick weapons up from your fallen enemies nor into maps outside of the occasional BFG or a chainsaw. So there's no Quake level weapon juggling involved. And at the end of each game you unlock some customizable armor pieces for your character, new weapons as you level up, and then you get these things called hack modules, which allow benefits such as seeing your enemies through walls, tracking the enemy who last killed you, and strangely enough these hack modules have limited uses and you unlock them as you keep playing, and I don't really quite understand the purpose of these. I've read and heard that they're something straight out from Titanfall, but I just don't understand the purpose in a game like Doom. The game does come packed with a nifty little level editor. Somehow I doubt it was the tool used for the game's maps themselves, but it's tidy and varied enough to craft some curious little scenarios with. I'll just probably need a whole lot more time and interest to toy with it, so I don't have much to say on that front. So what's the final verdict? Well, if you're a veteran, you'll grasp this game within the first 5 minutes and you'll probably chortle at the occasional throwbacks and references and Easter eggs. If you're a newcomer, then you might find more to complain if you've been force-fed this modern-day cover shooter crap. So, my thoughts on it? Well, it's left me a big enough impression to say that it's a contender for the Game of the Year 2016, due to the single-player mode alone, but what makes it truly stand out in my eyes, it's the audiovisual design. I've never played a game this tense, and future games will be hard-pressed to outdo this one. Rip and tear, my friends, and if the online mode is something that floats your boat, then that's just an added bonus, isn't it? So yeah, I liked it, and, well, I didn't go into it with too high expectations and was blown away by the single-player campaign, and I hope they managed to do some sort of follow-up to it. They did sell a season pass for the game, so there is that. So, anyway, I'm having problems wrapping up a video, so I hope you enjoyed and hope I elucidated you on a bit of Doom, and if I didn't, that's fine too. I hope you have a nice day. I love you. Bye-bye.